This week's royal news was quite full, with King Charles III having taken his first international visit to Germany since becoming the monarch. So, you are going to have fun tonight with me because we are going to discuss all of the news with King Charles, his trip to Germany, a state visit to Germany, Meghan and Harry. We're going to talk about Disney World and King Charles, and also Samantha Markle and Meghan Markle's lawsuit. So we have a lot to talk about. So I am Deanna from Hot for History, and my channel creates YouTube videos for royal news, quirky royal and history videos that I think you'll really enjoy. And tonight we are talking about King Charles, who will be having his coronation coming up not long from now on May 6th. And, you know, all of the UK is going crazy about that. It's a historic event that we've all been waiting for. We've all been really excited about, and it's going to be here before you know it. So we're all excited about that. But tonight we're going to talk about King Charles, his trip to Germany, a little bit about the video that I just put up about how German is the royal family. What is it going to look like from here on out? How did Germany respond to him on this visit? Why did he go there? In other words, couldn't he have gone to Germany? I mean, he was going to be going to France. So was it that he wanted to avoid the fact that Prince Harry had arrived in the UK? We had a little talk before about the court case. So let's get to it. Hi, guys. Hi, Sparkle. Hi, Chill. Hi, everybody. Welcome for being here tonight. And again, I'm Deanna from Hot for History. Please do subscribe. Please do like my videos. I am also would love for you to go to the description when you can after this video, of course, and click on the survey that I have, because I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to be planning some trips for history so that we can kind of go to some fun places. And I just kind of want to take a survey as to what you guys would like the best. So let's get into this Charles news. I'm so glad you guys are here tonight on this Saturday night. It's quite warm here in Florida, and I know it's been a little crazy throughout the United States. We've had some threatening tornadoes that have been really, really bad, and we just pray for everybody who is affected by those storms. I don't know where you're all from. Let me know where you're from, please. I know I'm from Illinois originally, living in Florida, and really close to where I was raised in Rockford, Illinois. An entire theater went in, and there were some tragic consequences from that because of the tornadoes. So be safe wherever you are. I know right now it's pretty bad in parts of the country. Okay, so I just put up a video about King Charles, and Ohio's cold and windy today. California, depending on where you're at, you probably have perfect weather, although it's been very weird in California, hasn't it? My daughter is in Los Angeles. Arkansas, we have Ohio, we have Marin County, God's country. I'm putting that in California. Seattle, Washington, beautiful day here, but will snow. Okay, well, hey, you can have the best of both worlds and go skiing if you want, or have a snowball fight. So odd when California had all that snow. Well, all that snow. Pennsylvania, welcome. Glad you guys are here. Central Valley, rivers are all flooded. Ooh, uh-oh. Also, by the way, one thing I love about talking to you all and going live is that together collectively we can brainstorm together, and I really enjoy that a lot. So tonight what I've put together is we're going to talk about King Charles and his German state visit, and even a little bit about their background. And the video I just put up, I put up like a 5-minute video about Charles and his German DNA. So I talked about that and how far back his ancestry goes. Be safe on the Jersey Shore. There are tornado watches. Okay, so, and then we're also going to talk about this. I live right next to Disney World, guys, and I've got an interesting story about that and how King Charles has come up in the news. And so we're just being spontaneous. I am a massive fan and obviously a history influencer, but I'm not an expert really in any way. I probably know more than your average person because it's become my business. Actually, it only became my business because I bought my great grandparents' home and was talking about the history with their home, and I'm not there all the time. Somebody mentioned here, there's from the Central Valley of Illinois. That's where the house is. And I just kind of fell into history, and it's just an amazing story because my mother was very into history and I liked it. I like the genealogy, but it became much more dramatic and more important to me after she passed away. Sorry, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but you guys have asked before to tell you guys a little bit more about myself. So she passes away, and she had really been into this history, and she left me the box of genealogy. And because she knew of all of her daughters, there's 4 girls, was the most interested in it. So I went into the genealogy. She passes away. Her big dream was to have this home that had been in our family for 90 years. It had been out of our family for 20 years. So it was her grandparents' house. I'm sorry, I know I'm going off, but it's important. And so we ended up, if you've seen any of my shorts or any of the videos on this particular subject, so I had this genealogy, and all of a sudden she passes away. She had Alzheimer's. As she's passing away, she thinks she's in this house. It's like a Hallmark movie. I'm not kidding. And she thinks she's in the house. When she's dying, she's like, I'm so glad to be back in the home. She was not in the home. She was like in Georgia, and this house is in Illinois. Then later, like 3 months after she passes away, and this was a home also that I loved, I was in all the time as a kid, we decide to go to the house and just get a picture in front of it. And I say this little prayer, and people had been living in it for 20 years. My mother had to sell it. I'm sorry, I'm going off, but I just feel like I've got to tell it tonight. Somebody had been living in it for 20 years. I say this prayer. My mother passes away. When she passed away, by the way, I had a dream of her in this house. 2 weeks after I stand on the land and say this prayer, this house became available. So we buy the house. Long story, I bought the house with my husband, and it started this whole TikTok, YouTube, all of my videos. I mean, being here on YouTube especially was because of buying that house. It was a leap of faith. I bought the house, and then my son, he's on YouTube too. His name's Andrew, Drew Hacks, or Drew Does. He's just started a new channel. He said, you got to start doing videos. So I started doing videos about the house, but I wasn't in the house all the time. This was like a year and a half ago. And I decided to do history videos. So here I am. That's my story. And my heart is in this home, and it feels like it's something from beyond that my mother told me, brought me into, because I don't know, there's just been a breath of God. We've had 200,000 new subscribers in a year. Granted, I was on the other platform prior to that, so I've had more there, but in a year, and about 128 million views from just this sort of shift of my kind of following my heart, taking a leap of faith to buy this house when we didn't have the money, but just knowing that our family would want it back. And all of my cousins and my extended family are so happy about it. So it brought me here to talk about the king. Sorry, I went off, but it's that you follow your heart sometimes, and you do things that you feel are called for. I knew that if I did that, made that investment in that house, that it would be something dramatic and amazing. And now, unexpectedly, it's brought me here. So that's why I'm here. So, and so, all right, well, I know I'm still going off, but it's related, guys, because we're talking about Germany. The man, my great grandfather, has the house in Illinois, but my family is German. And so we had a house in Coburg. Are you talking about the king or talking about me? So anyhow, my son ended up visiting Germany too. And so Germany, to me, and the house, it's connected. I'm sorry I went off. So King Charles goes on this German state visit. The king is very, very German. His entire family, if you go all the way back to George the First, were German. And he's about 75% German. Now with Prince William and Harry, because of Diana, which I haven't gotten into yet, but she's Scottish and British. She's more UK than Charles is, just saying. So he's very German. and there's no shaming that. I'm just bringing it up as because people have asked a lot. So we're going to talk about the state visit. Kyle, did he visit the historical family time in Coburg, which his mother never did? I don't know. That's where my family's from too. Prussian Prince, German Friedrich, Kaiser Wilhelm. Yeah, I mean, they're related. They were all related, but I don't think he did any of that. My family, I mean, I did my DNA. I'm 96% German. I have not even hardly visited. Okay, so I'm going to get into it. Sorry, I went off a little bit on myself. It's related. I am fascinated with Germany, love the German people. Obviously, there's some intense stuff with the history, but we'll talk about it. So, King Charles, he had a German state visit. Nobody really knows. Did he really go did he want to go originally for this trip? He wanted to go to France, and there was all the stuff, this protesting. So he goes to Germany and they pull out the stops for him. Any contact with Prussian Prince George Friedrich Kaiser? I don't think so, Kyle. I don't think that was what happened. I think he met with the president and the chancellor. Hold on a second. I'm going to read to you and you can see. Okay. Another week, another world trip this week. So King Charles and the Queen consort went on their first joint state visit abroad. And it was crazy. There was all this civil unrest in France. And so they stopped. They were like, we can't go to Paris. So we're going to go to Germany instead. So the royal couple flew into Berlin on Wednesday afternoon with 2 Luftwaffe Typhoon jets escorting the flight, and it entered the German airspace. And having traveled on a few royal flights over the years, we can't remember when the aircraft received such a reverential welcome. It was very formal, like a lot of German events are, very, except for when it's Oktoberfest and you're hanging out at the beer garden, just saying. But very organized, efficient, even though it seemed like sort of a last minute thing. But they pulled out the red carpet for them, absolutely. But there was a structure, which is typical. From my experience with the German culture, which is great, but it was very structured. Day 1 was focused on the pomp and pageantry. So it was really like, welcome, welcome, welcome. Day 2 was politics. And the final day centered around reconciliation in the future. And no, I don't think he visited anything having to do with, the past royal family or anything. So the overarching theme illustrated the unshakable bond between the two nations. The royal couple certainly had a packed schedule, but there were a few engagements focused on Ukraine and the environment that spoke to their priorities. And then here's a quote: "In the long and remarkable story of our two countries, there are many chapters yet unwritten. Let us fill these with the restless pursuit of a better tomorrow. The legacy of our past and the great promise of our future demands nothing else." And that was, Charles was very articulate. I heard his speech. Do you guys, let me ask you this. How do you, like, when I hear Charles speak, it's not like I'm a giant fan of his, honestly. I mean, I'm fine with him. I'm hoping he has a really great coronation. I really do hope that there's reconciliation with his kids. But when he talks, like, for me, I love hearing his voice. Like, I think he has a very dynamic, soothing kind of speaking voice. Am I crazy to be saying that? And yes, and Camilla, yes, I'm sorry, I do not have a picture of her in what she was wearing, because it was so great. I'll have to make sure to post that something. I do. Do you know that there's a picture of Queen Elizabeth doing the Nazi salute? If Prince Philip like that, not okay. So what happened was, when Queen Elizabeth was 8 or 9 years old, she had these private, filmed, like her dad, King George VI, was filming her, and then his brother, who was King Edward VIII, and the mom, Queen Elizabeth at the time, teaching the children to do this Nazi salute. This was before, it was like in the 1930s, though, to be fair, before they really knew how bad it was, and how bad Hitler was, right? But they were practicing that, and it was caught on film, and it wasn't exposed until probably, I think it was like 2011, something like that. So it was really a lot. It was long after that. So, but I do know that. Okay, so basically they had all these well-wishers. It was great. The crowds only got bigger as the days went on. Charles and Camilla also visit St. Nikolai Memorial Church, which was destroyed during World War II. In 1943, Allied forces began an aerial bombing campaign of Hamburg, Operation Gomorrah. In just there were 42,000 civilians killed and 37,000 who were injured. This was always going to be a historic trip for the new British sovereign, but he was under a lot of pressure to get it right because this was like the first time he's sort of under a little radar. There couldn't be any distractions, slip-ups, especially after the French portion of the trip was scrapped. Okay, so I get it now. I wasn't quite clear. Apparently, he had this Germany trip planned, but it was going to be preceded by the trip to France. And so he still ended up coming here. So Charles didn't hold back or shy away from traumatic experiences, both historic and more recent, for the two nations. Given their shared history, there could have been a lot of awkwardness, but he acknowledged the complex Anglo-German relationship. The targeted diplomatic efforts will be welcomed back home by UK Prime Minister Rishi. Okay, so anyhow, it was a success in a nutshell. It was a success. I simply adore the fact that Camilla is wearing the Queen's jewels. Yeah, I love that they all are. You know, I really like seeing. I love seeing that. So okay, so basically he hit a grand slam according to everybody who has watched and everybody who is kind of. And believe me, they watched. They were like meticulously following every little step. And then to Kyle's question regarding who he met with, King Charles arrived in Germany with the Queen for his first overseas state visit as monarch. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier and his wife Elke Butenbender rolled out the red carpet for visiting monarchs. I think those were their hosts. I'm not really quite sure if they who else they met, but that's what I know. So let's talk a little. I just want to talk a little bit before I get into this Disney thing and hear what you guys have to say. So I was doing some research about their German ancestry. And like I said, he is like 75% German because Philip was German, had to renounce his whole German royalty aspect. The Queen had him change. Well, they changed their names way back. Windsor, they changed their name to Windsor. I think it was with George V. And then, so it's Mountbatten because they had to hide the fact that they were mainly German. Because what we often forget is that there was a lot of anti-German sentiment, even like during World War I. So, and during that time, it was George V and his cousin Wilhelm. Again, I'm not an expert, but I just did a little video on this. So they were like, oops, can't let anybody know how German we are. So they basically, like kind of tried to hide it. And then of course, during World War II, it was crazy. And what we do know is Edward VIII, who was the supposed king, was supposed to become king. He was very sympathetic to the German side, so much so that he visited Hitler and there's photo ops with him with Hitler. So there's definitely that connection. And then there was a rumor alleged was that there was even a plan to somehow reinstate, Edward VIII by being a sympathizer to the Nazis during World War II. Of course, that's just a rumor. But I don't know if you guys know anything about that, but that is what we hear. Okay, so that was that with the Germans. Diana came into the picture. She's almost all British and Scottish. And so now Prince William is like, 50-50. And then Prince George is going to be almost all British because Catherine is. So that's what's happening. Will they start visiting the Commonwealth? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I would guess. I think what happens is that after the coronation, that's when they do that. I think they do like this entire tour. I've now been crowned. Let's go around to the different places. Okay, so have you guys heard about this? This is great. They basically enrich the bloodline. When will they start? Okay. So this is an interesting thing. And if any of you guys are legal scholars, which I am not, please help me out with this one. I will tell you that the one thing that I am really good at is the Disney thing, because I was a singing Disney princess as a teenager. I worked at Disney World. That was my gig. And I live literally in a Disney resort. So we have annual passes. We're there all the time. So what I do know is a little bit of the backstory to this, which is what happened is that when Walt started Disney World, they got a big tract of land and they started this thing called the Reedy Creek Development. It's like its own town. And that was because they basically were on like swampland, but they wanted control over security, over their fire department, over, they didn't want to have to get all of these, rules and laws to build stuff. And so back in the 60s, even when they got their big swampland, before they even built it up, they had a deal with the governor of the state back in the 60s. This is how it is, and this is how it's always been since. So I'm not going to get into politics, but I will say that recently the Florida government has been like, look, Disney has too much control, and now they're trying to get into politics, and it's been dramatic. So they established this board, much to the chagrin of Disney. But now we have Bob Iger back, which is much better and much preferable to Shapewear. I think that's his name. But now I'm bringing up Disney because Disney brought up King Charles. It's like worlds collide. It's so weird. And they are playing, in my mind, again, it's kind of a genius, but like very shrewd and kind of sneaky legal thing. When you go to law school, everybody says that you can do this aspect of, I don't know, restrictive covenants by evoking somebody's name who's alive and then talking about their descendants rather than giving it a time frame. So what happened was DeSantis assigned this board. And so the board was to oversee things. And so in February, right before this was supposed to go into effect, Disney was like, oh, we've got some really good lawyers. Let's do this. So now they're still in litigation, but I'm like, wait, why did they bring up King Charles's name? That's kind of like, I get into the entertainment head. I'm like, that's so funny because it's a kingdom and, there's a king. So let's read about this. And again, I'm not going to talk about, you can't not talk about politics, but I'm not going to really get into the politics a lot. Okay. So as the news broke out that Disney had quietly stripped power from the board, so Disney was had to strip power from their new board so it's like an oversight board that oversees Disney World's government services ahead of the takeover. A reference to British royalty, this is so funny to me, caught the internet's attention, becoming instant fodder for memes. A declaration of restrictive covenants approved by the board's former members on February 8th, a day before the Florida House voted to hand control to the district to the government, prohibits the district from using Disney's name, Mickey Mouse, and other characters without corporation's approval. So this was they did not expect this to happen. It was like some kind of genius legal maneuver. But it was a term that was banned, that has raised eyebrows. And this is the quote: "This declaration shall continue in effect until 21 years after the death of the last survivor of the descendants of King Charles III, King of England, living as of this date, the date of this declaration. The mention of the king in a list of covenants dealing with Cinderella's castle rather than Buckingham Palace struck many as odd, if not hilarious." This is what I'm saying. Some speculated the inclusion was a dig at DeSantis, who had said his goal in removing Disney's control of the former Reedy Creek Improvement District was ending the corporate kingdom. However, there's more of a straightforward explanation rooted in longstanding legal traditions and a common law concept known as the rule against perpetuities. As explained by Cornell Law School, the rule holds that no interest in land is good unless it must vest, if at all, not later than 21 years after some life in being at the creation of the interest. But of course, they picked King Charles. He's having his coronation, so why don't we give him a little nod? And it's a kingdom, and what king can we talk about? In other words, and by the way, we have lots of people from the UK that come to Disney World because it's closer, it's an easier flight. And so it's also probably a nod, even marketing wise. So in other words, covenants must be tied to the lifespan of a person living at the time that it's signed. So anyhow, I don't really understand everything about this, except I also think that it's pretty funny. The rule gave rise as to what is known as royal lives clauses, where King Charles gets dragged into Disney versus DeSantis dispute, which is meant to extend a covenant as long as possible by tying it in the lineage of a family member, royal family member. According to UK law firm Burkitt's, royals came to be used in such clauses because, given their wealth, they tended to live longer than most of their family members. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Disney always have, always will. Okay. So anyhow, I don't know. Did you guys think this was funny and interesting? I thought it was somewhat fascinating to me. And I'm watching it very closely because we're right here. And I mean, Disney's done well so far in Florida. I mean, I don't know, there were like a couple years where it was really bad, but they've handled things really well. They don't necessarily pay the people as much. They keep laying them off. So it's kind of a dramatic scene down here in Orlando because 90% of the people are employed by Disney. So they whatever will give them jobs. That's kind of all their attitudes. They just want to know, hey, are we going to be working? That's it. But Reedy Creek has done great. The only problem is that there's hardly any. They're so autonomous that it could almost be dangerous. I'm just saying that. They're so autonomous that it's a little troubling sometimes. Okay, so let's see. So apparently there's no word still on whether Harry and Meghan will be going to the coronation. The coronation is like around the corner. And so they still haven't come, but it is said that should they decide to come, that they will have, preferential treatment. I don't know to what extent. And then Harry was just here. So, the question is, are they or are they not going to come? And if they don't come, here's the big deal. It's going to be like a major issue if they do not come to the coronation. So, okay. So here's Prince Harry's news. This is an opinion piece, obviously with the Sun. Prince Harry risks the end of the relationship with the royal family if he doesn't attend. Now, I will say that a lot of people are saying this. The New York Times is saying this too. So it's not just one, like I said, it's more of an opinion piece, but it seems to be the consensus of many people. They did come here. The royal family is going to give them, it may not be the position that they want, but they do want to feature them prominently. They want to, embrace them. They may not give them everything. They may be watching them a little bit, but they do want them to come. And so it says the coronation, as we know, is May 6th. And a royal author, Alexander Larman, believes the historic occasion will provide a chance for Harry to actually reunite. And it is true. Like, he should probably look at it that way. He told Us Weekly, if he doesn't go to the coronation, he's essentially saying, I am not going to have a relationship with my family ever again. Larman added that he would be amazed if Prince Harry declines the invitation and instead opts to stay in the U.S. Royal commentator Hilary Fordwich believes that the Duke of Sussex was testing the waters when he visited the UK for his privacy battle at High Court. The Sussexes are yet to confirm their attendance. And that's the other thing. Like, how long are you going to hold out on this? There's so much planning that needs to be done. You've had the invitation for a long time, just yay or nay. The Sussexes are yet to confirm their attendance at the coronation, but because they don't know how the public are going to react. They will absolutely get booed, but also it's one of those things where people might boo them, but they will also simultaneously be excited that they actually decided to come and be the public's forgiving in many ways. I don't know. Maybe not as much in the UK, but like they will be here. Perhaps appearing in London unannounced to attend the court case was testing the waters. The dilemma facing Harry and Meghan is that of a lose-lose situation. On the one hand, if they do accept the invitation, the likelihood of being booed by the British public, whom they threw under the bus, is highly likely. They're going to have to just assume they're going to get booed. Okay, sources claim that the Telegraph was told that the First Lady Jill Biden and Joe Biden will not come. The end of his 3-day visit. So they're just talking about who's going to come, who else. Do you think that they should come or they should not come? I read that Meghan will be wearing a coronet, a tiara. Oh my gosh. Okay, fascinating is right. Okay. Do you think that they should come? I think that they should come and then continue figuring out what the heck they're going to do after. Now, this comment, this article about Harry being stupid, so many people are saying, oh my gosh, what is he doing? What is he doing with all of these lawsuits? There's so many lawsuits that he has against the media, and there's all of this irony in it, and it's just becoming kind of a you-know-what show. So that's why people are saying he's not very intelligent, because if he was, maybe he, some of these lawsuits he's not going to win, and it's going to make him look worse, and he's just stirring the pot so much. Yeah, I think they should attend the coronation too. So this article I'll get to, maybe I'll read it in a second, but again, a lot of criticism still about Meghan, and they're just, it's just, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. She just won, the lawsuit that Samantha Markle had against her, because they said that everything that Meghan had said was opinion. Meghan had said in her deposition or whatever, that, well, it was my opinion that I was an only child. It wasn't necessarily literal. It meant that I felt like I was an only child, but it wasn't literal. So that's what they're saying. And so here's another article, like, Meghan. Okay, so she's still not talked. She's like warped from reality, which is what this New York Post is saying, that she isn't really as close to her parents as she makes it out to be, her mom especially, over the course of yeah, they're just saying that she's out of touch, and a lot of her decisions, obviously Harry is just going for them, and it's destroying him and it's destroying her. So I don't think she really won necessarily. It was a draw. Okay, so the damage is done. So Meghan is still getting, it's like she's trying to stay out of the public eye, and yet we see her all the time, because she wants to stay out because she got tortured, really. But now she's still getting tortured. So maybe that's her thing. Maybe she's a little gun shy, and that's why she doesn't want to come to the coronation. I don't know. So any other comments, guys? Basically, I wanted to just talk about Germany a little bit, about this King Charles royal clause. I think right now there's a lot of buzz about Charles. For a while, it was Harry and Meghan, Harry and Meghan, Harry and Meghan. We talked a little bit about the rumors about Will and his supposed mistress, Rose Hanbury, which isn't. So we'll just see what's next. Kentucky here. I hope you guys stay safe. Is there anything interesting that you would want to know about the royal family that we haven't really touched upon? Because I've talked about everything from the King's corgis. One thing I will say is that Sarah Ferguson basically threw Meghan and Harry under the bus recently. She wasn't necessarily as supportive as she was in the past. Haven't heard as much about Andrew in the past week or so. Edward and Sophie, as usual, are staying in the background. And I think it's time for the King to be featured. Should Should they welcome him back? Like, how should it look? He should go to the coronation, but how should it look? Like, should he be at Buckingham Palace? What do you think of Harry in general? Like, I just think that he's making such bad decisions that it's just downright embarrassing. And yet there's a part of me that understands why he's upset with the media. I get it, but I don't know, the way that they're doing it is just, it's not good. So, okay, I don't know. I just wanted to cover that. I hope you guys are doing well. Stay safe. Stay away from the tornadoes. And thank you for letting me go off a little bit on my own personal tangent with Germany and the house and Hot for History. Please do subscribe. I've got some more videos coming up that are very, very fascinating. And if you can do me a favor, look in the description of this video and go to the survey that I have on travel. There's no commitment to it, but I'm trying to figure out where we would go on a trip if I had a handful of people wanting to go on a trip. Do we go to the UK? Do we go to Ireland? Do we go to Germany? Where do we go? I think it should be in Europe. I'm getting like all these votes for Ireland, and I don't even have as much of I haven't even talked about Ireland hardly at all. I want to go to Germany and the UK, but I would love for you guys to fill out that survey if you can. And in the meantime, have a great night, and we'll be talking to you soon.